All right, good morning, commuters. I'm Matt Malone, and this is the Commuter Podcast, Episode 2. It's June 6th, 2019. I'm in the Ford Escape, 82,008 miles logged on this vehicle. A little hazy this morning. So, did you guys enjoy the first podcast? Hey, I feel like I'm in the CIA. We got a runner, Section 4, Quadrant 8. Get him! Trying out this microphone. Hopefully it cuts down on some of the road noise. Although you guys said audio wasn't too bad for the first one, so we're trying things out. I actually stopped at Walmart yesterday during work and took a look at some of the headset microphones, like those ones where you just kind of lay them on your neck. And they have like ear pods, but you don't have to have the ear pods in. You can just kind of lay the microphone around your neck. So I was thinking about maybe getting one of those. I don't know. We'll see how this works. It's kind of weird to have something dangling out of my ear, but we'll see. So anyway, this podcast, this video, this commentary, this rambling is going to be, somebody asked on Twitter or the comments section. It was Poody, Poody, I think it was on Twitter. He said, "What is your first ever memory, and tell us your life story." So I'm going to do that. I don't know if I'll get it all done in one video, but we're gonna do it. So I was born a three-legged Indian boy in the dunes of Kentucky. And my dad was assistant vice president to the FHA Chapter 3 district, and I grew up a very poor little Indian boy. No, I had a normal Midwestern childhood. Grew up in a nice town. The earliest memory I can remember, man, it's hard to tell. I guess the most major thing is that when I broke my arm, I was just a little kid, and I remember we had these little Fisher-Price, those little plastic Fisher-Price chairs. They only sit like a foot off the ground. And I remember I was in the playroom in our old original house, and I was reaching up for a book or something from the shelf, and I fell down and I broke my arm, and my mom didn't believe me. She didn't know I broke my arm. I was just kind of complaining, and she's like, "Yeah, get over it, kid. Rub some dirt on it, you know?" And so I guess I kept crying or kept complaining about my arm, so she's like, "Fine, we'll take you to the hospital." And sure enough, I'd broken my arm. But yeah, that was real early on, because the house that I grew up in, we only lived there until I was in 3rd grade, and then we moved to the house that my parents still live in to this day. So yeah, I guess memories from third grade and before that would be in the old house. That was a great old house. It was kind of an older house, older part of town, and we had a tree house in the back that my dad built. Now it wasn't like an actual tree house because it wasn't attached to a tree. It was just a freestanding structure. But it was pretty high, and it had a fire pole and everything. We used to jump off of it. That was not very safe. Yeah, we had good memories there. We had some neighbors. The neighbors, they had 3 girls, and it's funny because one of those girls that we used to hang out with as a little kid, she actually married one of my best friends later in life, and they now live in Colorado. It's just weird how it's just a small world. But we all sort of kept in touch, kind of reconnected during high school when my friend started dating her. But I remember being over at my other friend's house across the street, and they used to shoot BB guns at each other. I mean, I'm 3rd grade and younger here. I never did get shot with a BB gun. They were a little bit older than us. Then I had another friend, Eric Landshaft, and we used to go to his house. We used to play video games, NES. Those were the good old days. And but no, I grew up in a nice little subdivision, older part of town, and life was good. I have an older brother. He's 3 years older than me, and we used to get in a little bit of trouble. But the real trouble started when we moved to the north side of town, like I said, when I was in 3rd grade, and started going to different schools. And but let me explain. Oh geez, this is all over the place. In the original house, I remember walking to school, and I was in like 2nd and 3rd grade walking to school, and it wasn't just like around the corner. It was quite the hike. And I've even, I've been to that area since, my parents still live in the same town, and I know the distance, and it's not that short. It's kind of long for is that normal for like a 2nd or 3rd grader to walk to school for I don't know, it's probably, half a mile or 3/4 of a mile, there was one major intersection, you get the crossing guard. Is it safe to go, Mr. Crossing Guard? I wonder how many of those have turned out to be pedophiles. No. So yeah, I just found that strange. I remember even younger when maybe I was in like kindergarten or 1st grade, and my parents would, they would drive us to school. But 2nd, 3rd grade, I was walking to school, which is crazy. Let me know in the comments if you guys, what's the earliest you ever walked to school. But I remember one memory from kindergarten. I don't know how old you are in kindergarten, pretty young. And it was nap time. And that's where you get your dirty little rug and you spread it out. It's so weird that they used to do nap time. But you just put your rug out. You just take a nap, I guess. And I didn't always sleep. And sometimes you'd be like half awake or whatever after the Pop-Tarts that they shoved in your face, in the morning, and you have like a sugar crash. Looking back at it now, that's probably what it is. I remember the kindergarten teacher, she put like a stool or something like right next to me, and I was probably like half sleeping, half not sleeping, but I remember waking up and like she's on a step stool, and it was like an upskirt moment where I remember like seeing up her dress. Now, I didn't see anything crazy because I don't remember like a visual of any private parts or anything, but I just remember like kind of like coming out of a haze and like looking up, and I'm like looking up the teacher's dress. I'm like, oh my gosh. And then I remember another time, because we would have recess immediately after nap time. And I remember it was cold outside, and I remember waking up and like in a panic, in a rush, like, oh my gosh, I missed recess. So then I ran and got my coat to go outside, and the teacher said, teacher's like, Matthew. I'm like, yes. And she's like, recess is over. I had slept all the way through recess. So I'm like, oh my gosh, it was the weirdest feeling. I remember that to this day. It was so strange. But yeah, no, I had a great childhood. I'm pretty blessed. I have really good parents. They're still living. Really good parents. My dad grew up. He's pretty much been a mechanic his whole life. He worked for big implement dealers, people that sell tractors, And so he would work on, tractors and, mostly like New Holland and Case IH. It was always like, see, in the tractor industry, you have like Case and New Holland, and then you have like John Deere, and that's almost like Chevy Ford like battle, So we were always against John Deere's for whatever reason, just because he didn't work on them. It was kind of his competitors. So, but yeah, he was a mechanic. He's still a mechanic part-time. He's been turning wrenches for 40, 50 years, and he's worked really hard to make sure that we had a good life and put food on the table. And my mom, she was the secretary for the church for a while, but her main job was she used to clean houses, and she still does. So she would get she had 3 or 4 or 5 different clients, and she would clean their house once a week or whatever, and it pays good money. And it's crazy because the one, up until just a couple years ago, she had been cleaning the same house for the same people for as long as she's had that job, for 30 years. And she'd still be cleaning the same house. I mean, talk about job security. So, and then every couple years she's like, well, should I raise my prices, And it's like, yes, you should. And she would just tell them, be like, hey, I have to raise my prices. And they're like, yeah, it's fine. Yeah, whatever, that's fine. These are one of the house, they were very well off, very rich people. And she's all worried about oh, I should raise my prices, price of living. It's yeah, do it. And they wouldn't even blink an eye. Unbelievable. So just who knows how much she could have made. But anyway, so yeah, my parents worked really hard making ends meet. And we weren't super well off. We weren't wealthy or rich or anything, but we were doing fine. There were a couple times, parents always, the number one thing that spouses fight about is money. And there were definitely some heated conversations I remember as a young kid and my parents having about money. So, it was tight, but it was fine. I wasn't wearing rags or anything, or we always had food on the table, and we did things they sent us to piano practice and stuff like that, just little extra things to do, activities after school or whatever. So no, it was fine. And then they had moved to the north side of town to a brand new house. It was just built, nothing special, just a 3-bedroom ranch, little yard, brand new subdivision. And that was really neat. I remember that all too well. They made the move during the time I was in school. So I left school from one house, and then when I came home, I went home to the different house. So I remember that. And yeah, beautiful house. My parents still live in it to this day. Something about a brand new house. It's got that smell. It's got that feel. Brand new carpet. You can still smell the paint. And yeah, the yard, it's a brand new subdivision, so there's no trees whatsoever. And my dad sodded the front yard and seeded the backyard. So that was the big project. I'm kind of bouncing around, but before that, before we moved, I remember where my dad worked. And remember, in the old house, I was only second, third grade. My dad built us a go-kart, and I know if you've watched the stream, you've probably seen those pictures of me. That is definitely second or third grade Matt Malone riding around in a go-kart in a gravel parking lot at his workplace. And then I bring this up because to say that when we moved into the new house, we still had the go-kart, but we hadn't used it in like a couple years, or no, probably less than that, like 6 months or so. And there it was a new subdivision, so it wasn't all built out yet. And so there was an empty lot behind us. And so now we're getting a little bit older, 4th, 5th, 6th grade. And me and my brother, it's summer vacation, so my parents are at work and we're home, left to our own devices. And we got that go-kart sitting in the garage. Oh gosh, I don't know if my dad knows about this or not. He probably does, because I'll get to it. So me and my brother, we'd start that thing up and we'd go tearing around the empty lot in the back, because we couldn't tear it around in the backyard, because my dad was trying to grow grass and plant trees and stuff. But the empty lot in the back, it was just dirt mounds and stuff, and we used to rip and roar around there. That was so much fun. It's like we were getting away with something, because we were doing it all by ourselves. That was dangerous, but that thing went pretty good. You get that thing on tarmac. I remember when we first got it going, I'd ride it around on the street, for a little bit, and if you turned it really sharp, because it had slicks on it, if you turned it really sharp, you'd get a couple tires come off the ground. So yeah, that thing was it was pretty quick for what it was. So anyway, so then after we had used it a couple times, I'd be like, "Hey, Dad, maybe we should get that go-kart running, He's like, no. I'm like, oh, come on, We're like, tell you what, if I can get it started, can I drive around? Can I race around with it a little bit? He's like, and he's thinking it hasn't ran in months and months, He's probably thinking that thing ain't gonna start. I don't even know if there's fuel in it, this, that, and the other thing. But we had already had it running, so I knew it would start. And so he's like, yeah, sure, if you can get it to start on a couple of pulls, because it was just a pull start, like a lawnmower. He's like, yeah, sure. So sure enough, like first pull, I'm like, let's go, baby. So I ripped and roared a little bit around it, and he's like, oh boy. So I don't know if that kind of, I don't know if the fact that I was able to make it start made him believe that we had already been running around with it. Maybe, I don't know. But I remember that was hilarious. He's just like, yeah, go ahead. The deal's a deal. Oh, man, but that was fun. And I don't know whatever happened to that go-kart. I think he just took it to work and, I don't know, probably ended up in a trash bin somewhere. But that was a lot of fun. So anyway, yeah, growing up there, it was a nice house. I started meeting new friends, and in the back kitty corner to us is where I met my friend Kurt, he became my best friend, and he was actually my best man in my wedding, and we still obviously are best friends still to this day. But new friends there, you met friends down the road. It was just a whole new experience, and I think it helped that I was in 3rd grade when we moved, because I was young enough to actually start making new friends and go to a new school. I can't imagine, some people are moving all the time. They're switching schools, and it's not like we moved across country or anything. We moved just north of town. So when I finally went to junior high school and high school, that's when I reconnected with some of the kids that I went to elementary school in for 1st, 2nd, 3rd grade. So that was kind of interesting. But yeah, me and my friend Kurt, we used to get into a bunch of trouble. Because back in my day, this is like, what would it be? Like the early 90s. I grew up in the 90s. I was born in 83. So by the time I realized what the hell was going on in the world, it was in the 90s already, And so there's no cell phones, you would just, back in my day, you would just go out and play, and you'd come back when you're hungry, or the big rule was make sure you're back home by the time the street lights come on, It's like, okay, so we would we'd go exploring. We built a fort. There was oh boy, there's a garbage guy here. Slow her down. Oh, okay, he's waving me on. All right, thanks, buddy. Watch out for those garbage men. They work hard, man, I tell you. So yeah, there was a kind of a river near us, the Kishwaukee River, and we would go, and it was kind of pretty secluded area that we could get to. We'd build forts, we'd burn stuff. It was great, man. It was a great childhood. We'd get into all sorts of trouble. We'd throw bricks in the river. We'd catch frogs, and yeah, we'd ride our bikes everywhere. Always be riding our bikes to get places. In fact, it's funny because when I got a little bit older, I was in junior high school. We always used to go to flea markets. My dad would take us to flea markets because he was, long story, but we would go to flea markets and like old car shows and car swaps and part swaps, flea market places, you know. And I purchased one of those 3-wheel bikes. You see those, there's always like one of those guys in town. He's a little on the spectrum, you know, and he's riding around in a 3-wheel bike, like picking up people's trash or something. He's always got it's got the basket in the back, and he's always got like cans or something. Well, I bought this really nice, it was a Schwinn, a 3-wheel bike. It's got the basket in the back. This thing was nice, man, and it was like, I want to say $300. And I worked, I had jobs like from the age of like, oh gosh, we used to deliver papers when I was in like 4th or 5th grade. It was crazy. But we always, my parents instilled in me some good work ethic, and like they always wanted us to like, hey, you can work for this guy, or you can go bale some hay, or you can deliver newspapers, or you can do whatever to make some cash. Like my dad would have us, every other weekend or something, he would have me and my brother like switch off to go to his work to like clean toilets and like clean up around the shop. Now, if you've ever been into the bathroom of a mechanic shop, your life will change. I'm still not the same after that. But he'd have us go in there and clean the bathrooms and sweep up and vacuum the office areas and just do whatever, like stay busy, and he would pay us per hour, my dad, and that was really good. It was good money for when you're a young kid, and it gives you like life lessons, and it teaches you a lot of stuff about what hard work's gonna be, because you gotta make money, you gotta work to make money. You need money to eat, and you need money to buy things you want, and that's just the way of the world, But anyway, so I saved up, and I don't know if my dad helped me pay for it. Like maybe he might have like paid for half of it, and then I'd have to like pay him back. I don't know if I had all of that money all at once, but I remember buying it, and it was like $300. It was nice, man. So now I got this 3-wheel bike. I wonder what the neighbors were thinking. It's like, who's the retard down there? That kid should have a helmet on. But yeah, we used to rip and roar around with that 3-wheel bike, and I used to, a couple times I'd put Kurt in the basket, and that was a lot of work, man. I'd be sweating trying to get anywhere. But we used to, listen to this. This is how entrepreneurship we were, and kind of we were scavenger-esque. So Pepsi, Mountain Dew and Pepsi, back in the day, used to do this Pepsi Points thing. Let me know if you guys remember this. Sometime in the 90s. And I don't know if they've done it since then. So it was called Pepsi Points. And what it was is if you buy like a case of Pepsi, there was these little points, a little thing on the side of the box where you'd cut it out and you'd save up your points. And then depending on how many Pepsi points you had, you could buy, whatever, like a watch or sunglasses or just stupid gear, for Pepsi. So me and Kurt, every single garbage day for our neighborhood, and we would go out and we would go scavenge all the recycling bins, and we'd have our scissors in hands, and we would go and we'd cut out all the Pepsi Points, and we would collect all this stuff. It was perfect. I had the 3-wheel bike, the basket, put it in the basket. Let's go. Sometimes we just grab the whole box and then cut them out later. And it felt like we were kind of getting away with something, you know, like we weren't supposed to do it, but it's garbage. Who cares, you know? So you didn't have to collect cans. You would just have to collect the little paper thing. And sometimes we'd hit up a spot and like, oh, it's already cut out. Be like, oh, sons of guns, you know, they're stealing from us. They already took it. Be like, wait. So, you know, the mentality, you know. So we would do that, and we saved up so many points. I think I got like a backpack. I got a pair of sunglasses. I got a watch. We got all this stuff from these Pepsi Points. I mean, we had thousands of them. It was crazy. It was like the big payoff. And you get, you know, it's cheap stuff, you know. But I remember those glasses. They were like real shiny, and they had the Pepsi logo. That, you know, you could see through it, but the Pepsi logo would show. So dumb. Yeah, we were always up for doing stupid stuff like that. And my dad put in a basketball hoop on our driveway, so we would always be playing basketball. That was so much fun. It was one of those basketball hoops that you could lower. So when you're a little kid, you can dunk, you know, because you could lower it up. And we used to play Tip 21 or whatever it's called, and play a lot of just one-on-one, me and Kurt. And he used to literally beat me like 95 out of 100 times. But man, I remember a couple of those days. I was on, man. I was like, Jordan, back then. You know, because Michael Jordan and the Bulls were so big then. And I lived through that, and we didn't have like a nice TV or anything, but I was able to watch some of the games on TV in all its, you know, noise-ridden glory. It was hard to get reception, and yeah, so it was kind of hard to see. Since then, I actually have like a DVD box set of like some of those playoff games of watching Jordan and stuff. What an amazing stretch there in the 90s that the Bulls went on. And I was a huge Bulls fan. Like, I had all like the merchandise in my room. I had it all set up. Like, it's like I got pictures. It's so embarrassing now to think of. Like, anything that said Chicago Bulls on when we were anywhere, I'd like try to get it with my allowance money, and just like stupid stuff. I had a lot of Space Jam stuff, and I would just like display it on like my dresser. I had like a table, and like I would just display it all in my bedroom. I'd be like, look at all my Bulls stuff. I'd have the posters, and just, you get like a McDonald's cup with like Jordan's face on it or something. I would like display it in my room, like, oh wow, you know. It's like, oh geez. I was like, if I wouldn't let my kids do stuff like that. Be like, this shouldn't be your idol. Like, do not. It's almost like having like a false god. It was like I had a shrine for it. I'm like, looking back at it, it's like really, that's your idol? Like some guy that throws a ball in a hoop? Like, it's like, let's calm it down here a little bit. Let's take out the candles. Like, are you praying to Michael Jordan? What's going on in here? So, and then you find out later in your life that Jordan's kind of a dirtbag. But anyway, so yeah, no, it was good. And, you know, going up through, I'm trying to think of some stories. I guess it started in junior high school. My mom always says, when you turn 13, that's when you changed. Because I was kind of an asshole. I was, when I like turned 13, 14, I was in like, I guess you're in junior high school then. I was bad, dude. I was a bad kid. I was just like, I guess, bored a lot at school. So I would just be like, I would just mess around. And our junior high school had something called positive and negative points. And get through here. So if you like, you know, I wouldn't consider myself a class clown because no one really laughed. Sometimes I'd get a laugh, but I was just disruptive. I mean, looking back, I was just kind of disruptive. I would just say stuff while the teacher was talking, like just dumb stuff, and I would just do kind of stupid stuff to try to get a laugh, but usually people were just mad. Anyway, so if you screwed up, they would give you negative points, and it was like a running tally, you know. So I'd get sent out in the hall a lot, get 5 negative points, and then there was what they call positive point activities. So like, let's say there was like, I don't know, like, okay, so at the end of the day today, we're all going to go into the assembly room and there's going to be whatever, something stupid, right? I don't know what they did because I was never allowed in. So if you had too many negative points, you would just have to go to like a study hall. So I don't know what they were doing in the assembly room because I was never there. And then at a certain point, if you dip below like negative whatever 30 points, you had to eat lunch by yourself in a separated area. So I had to do that for like a week or two, and I'm like, this is dumb. I'm like, this is no fun. I'm like, I can deal without these stupid assemblies, but eating lunch by myself, this sucks. So I like tried to get my act together a little bit, and I tried to be positive, but it was not good. I would just screw around and say dumb stuff at the wrong time, and maybe the teachers didn't like me. And I remember the one time me and this one kid, we made paper airplanes, and then we shoved them in the urinals, and we got in major trouble for that for whatever reason. The janitor found out. It's probably a disgruntled janitor, and so they sentenced us to like mop the floors and sweep the floors during recess. This might have been in elementary school, actually. Maybe I turned bad even in elementary school. But yeah, I remember doing like cleaning the bathrooms and sweeping the floor during whatever. Oh boy, some things never change. Anyway, 32 minutes. Wow, I only got through junior high school. Wow. Okay, so I may have to pick this up tomorrow. Yeah, it's fun reminiscing. But like I said, I had a good childhood and had a lot of fun, and you know, I'm pretty blessed for where I was born and the time in which I was born. It was a lot of fun. I can't imagine being a kid these days, and you know, ever since you're able to even move your phalanges to, you know, they put an iPad in your hands, and it's like, what, you know? So we never had any of that stuff. So I don't know how these kids these days even do it. I don't know, with all the technology, and they got you get a 5-year-old, he's got his own iPhone. It's like, what? That can't be good for your brain. But some of the stuff I did as a kid probably isn't good for your brain either. But anyway, we will stop this now. I'll upload it. Hope you guys are enjoying this stuff. I'm having fun with it. So my philosophy is, if I'm having fun doing it, I'm just going to keep doing it and go from there. So tell me about your childhood, and if you guys had some of the same memories. And don't forget, I'll do some plugging here. So Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube is all Matt Malone TV. On Twitch, it's just Matt Malone. So check it out, guys. Give it a follow, give it a like, give it a subscribe, all that good stuff. Whatever. I'm not gonna do all that stuff. So we'll see you tomorrow, guys. I'm gonna plan on streaming today. I got the new Porsche rim adapter hooked up to the wheelbase, and I got everything I think where I want it. Move the camera again. So we should be good. Hopefully I'll be able to stream today. We'll see how work pans out. I'll let you know. Okay, bye.